The president showed a video that he said showed more than 1,000 burial sites of white South Africans that he said were murdered. We know that that was not true and that the video wasn't showing that. So I wonder, why did the president choose to show that? It's not true that the video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
The video showed images of crosses in South Africa about white farmers who have been killed and politically persecuted because of the color of their skin.
The president
and those crosses are representing their lives.
Kind of another one of those days for the D.C. press corps. Very slow to get used to how things have changed now. Let's bring in Kellyanne Conway, host of Here's the Deal on Fox Nation. I don't know if you had seen that, Kellyanne. I'm sure you did, but it was really a remarkable moment. It was kind of like one of those wake-up moments that journalists had, and realizing that the old way, the old narratives, what they used to be able to get away with, they can't get away with that anymore, can they?
No, she's actually never been good at that. She covered us in the first term for NBC, for PBS, and I'm sure she's a lovely person in life, but she's not a particularly sharp and honest journalist when it comes to just looking at the facts. And for Karoline Leavitt to push back is pretty incredible. And by the way, these are the same reporters, David, who saw Joe Biden day in and day out or didn't see him. And yet would never cover the facts, as we know from our own eyesight and hearing. And they're always looking for something else, always looking for Russia collusion, they're always disputing what the White House has said. And it doesn't work anymore, and I'll tell you why. Because this White House, and particularly this president, presides over the democratization of information. He brings the message, the facts, directly to the people. He made the biggest investment in the history of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania today, and he announced it on Truth Social. He said, we're keeping U.S. Steel there. They're going to invest in 6 states. Nippon Steel will have this shared partnership. But he does that without having to go through 100 middlemen. He just says, okay, the deal's done. We've been negotiating it. Boom. And he does that again and again on Truth Social, on Twitter, in the Oval Office, under wing of Air Force One, through his spokespeople like Karoline Leavitt. And you know who doesn't like it, David? The middlemen don't like it. He's cut them out. They're not as relevant. That's right.
That's right. Well, and the media, in many cases, was working as the right arm of the Democratic Party in all of the various hoaxes and all of the various narratives, many of which turned out to be not true. So untrue that even now some of the people who are complicit in spilling those narratives, like Jake Tapper and others, have to admit that they were wrong. Although even there, they are not quite admitting they're wrong, are they?
No, in fact, Jake Tapper said the other day, well, you know, the media are polite. We're polite. They weren't polite to us. They were terrible to us, talking about our marriages, our families, looking for Russia collusion. Do you realize 8 years ago this month, May of 2017, David, they were talking about Bob Mueller being appointed special counsel and golden showers and Russia collusion. And there's just no shame. They lack the shame gene that the rest of us have. And I like to shame, name, and blame them because they are denying America information that affects Americans. If you choose night after night to cover Russia collusion or all these silly hoaxes you mentioned, impeachments, indictments, all this nonsense, you are excluding other news you can use, information, education that we, the people, should have access to. That's my main beef with the media, is that what they choose and call news is not what aligns with what America wants. But again, I don't think it matters anymore. The trust in the mainstream media is very low. That's earned. And in the case of Jake Tapper, he's a special case because he was screaming at the rest of us every time we tried to say anything, give some facts about there is no Russia collusion.
Well,
I remember him telling me before I went on a segment on a Sunday show, like
the whole Biden thing. I mean, the Biden
by the way,
cover-up
it's not
was the
even a
worst.
cover-up. David, I don't know that we should be calling a cover-up. We're all doing that. It's just lies. What were they covering up? They didn't cover it at all. You can't. It's not covering up. It's like not covering it all. It's pretending America doesn't know what they see. They did the same thing with the border. You're watching people cross the border by the millions.
I know.
You're watching babies die in the Rio Grande. You're watching drugs come over, kids being trafficked, and Alejandro Mayorkas is telling us that there is no crisis and that it's hard to prepare for a meeting with President Biden because he's so, quote, intensely probing and laser focused. These liars need to be put under oath and asked what they knew and when they knew it.
There's something else that happened this week. Of course, that horrible murder of two wonderful young people inside the Beltway in our nation's capital, and the perpetrator revealed a lot when he was taken in that first night, just hours after the murder happened, and he did it outside. I believe it was outside the police station. But let's just take a look at that. Roll it.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine, with the same cadence and everything as the protesters that we've seen so much of, including a couple of months ago, a U.S. Congresswoman. Let me play that tape. Roll it.
Yes.
Hey everyone, it's Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. I want you to meet my friends.
So after all this, are some of those Democrats who have linked on to the tails of the radical left of the Democratic Party for a ride for the past couple of years, are they finally going to let go and realize that they can't connect themselves to this horrible connection that they have with actual murderers?
Some may, David, but where are they? 2 days after this beautiful couple was gunned down, who is actually calling out the anti-Semitism, anti-American speech of people like Rashida Tlaib, AOC, certainly Ilhan Omar. Yesterday, she couldn't even give you the doctrinaire political sanitized violence is never the option, and I pray for those condolences for the families of those two young people. Not even that. She just had to get in her car and go. Look, this is not just happening on our college campuses. The anti-Semitism is in our halls of Congress, and people better wake up to that. There were 31 Democrats, David, who voted against the resolution October 18th, 2023, 11 short days after what happened in Israel on October 7th. They voted against the resolution to condemn Hamas as a terrorist group. That's all it said. It didn't talk about aid for Israel. It didn't talk about Palestinian children in Gaza. It just wanted to condemn terrorists for the terrorist acts they committed. So the Democrats have a problem. You know, David, they won't speak up and speak out against this. And none of them voted for that big, beautiful bill. None of them think that tax cuts, tax credits, dereg, energy security, border security, school choice, they all voted against these things that their constituents want. Democratic Party's got worse than an identity crisis. They have an ideology breakdown where they can't even support our best friend in that region, Israel.
Well, it's self-destruction, and I can't believe that they'll stick with something that keeps driving them into loss after loss after loss. Eventually, some of them are going to break away. Maybe it won't be the whole party. We had a lot more to talk about, Kellyanne. We got to leave it at that. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Appreciate you being here.
Same to you. God bless our soldiers who
God bless them.
sacrifice so much.
Thank you so much.